Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another sealed event of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, trying to get a good amount of practice between sealed and draft because we have a limited arena open on the 26th that will be sealed day 1, and if you manage to make it into day 2, then you'll be playing a best of 3 draft event. So without further ado, let's just hop into another Kamigawa Neon Dynasty sealed pool. Alright, so looks like some excellent green and blue rares here. Our red rare is actually quite good as well, so we'll definitely want to take a look at the card quality of our commons and uncommons and see what has the most support. But some really big stuff here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is a really good rare. For only 3 mana, you're going to get a 2/2 that creates a treasure token every time it attacks. Then you'll get to discard up to 2 cards to draw that many cards. Then you'll get another 2/2 with a really good activated ability. 1 mana, tap it, create a token that's a copy of another non-legendary creature, except it has haste and sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So that is really good with enter the battlefield effects. It's incredibly good on blocks because you can use this ability at instant speed. So say you have a 4/4 on your board, they have a 4/4 on theirs, you can just attack in with your 4/4 during your turn, and then when they move to attack with their 4/4, you just make a copy of yours and trade off with it because you're going to have to sack it at the end step anyway. Card's absolutely ridiculous. Super good red rare there. There's Teachings of the Kirin, a much weaker saga, but still a good one. Similar to how Fable of the Mirror Breaker is 3 mana for 2 2/2s, except both of those have really good abilities. The Teachings of the Kirin is 2 mana for a 2/2 and a 1/1, but the 1/1 has some good abilities. So you mill 3, get a 1/1, then you put a +1/+1 counter on it, essentially getting a 2/2. Then you flip it as a 1/1 with these abilities to either spit more spirits out or spit more counters on the board. So essentially, kind of like a really slow way to get 2 2/2s for 2 mana, except the second one has to attack in to turn itself into a 2/2. Kind of an awkward card, but definitely a good rare, definitely a good rate for its mana cost. Just not the strongest rare ever. We have Kairi the Swirling Sky, straight from Kingdom Hearts, a 6 mana 6/6 legendary flying dragon spirit with ward 3, and when they die, you choose 1. You get to return any number of non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands, or you get to mill 6, then return up to 2 instants and sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. So very similar to all the other dragon spirits, just an absolute ridiculous bomb, because you play it on the board, and if it doesn't get removed, it's just going to kill your opponent by building a really big flyer. And if it does get removed, then you're still 2 for 1ing your opponent because they spent a removal spell and you still got either 2 instant or sorceries back to your hand or bounced a bunch of stuff. So Kairi, very powerful card. Actually, probably one of the weakest of the mythic rare dragon spirits just because of how expensive Kairi the Swirling Sky is. Most of them are only 4 or 5 mana for a really just bonkers dragon spirit, but still a ridiculous card. Invoke the Winds is going to be incredible if you can have like 10 or 11 blue sources in your deck, but it is really hard to cast. You do get to gain control of an artifact or creature and untap it. Absolutely ridiculous bomb because you just steal their bomb. So it's like a removal spell and a bomb all in one. We have another great green rare, this one a mythic rare, Jukai Defends the Temple. This is 3 mana to get a 1/1 that taps for green, then put a +1/+1 counter on 2 target creatures, so that 1/1 is going to be a 2/2 that taps for green, and something else on your board is going to get a +1/+1 counter as well, and then again, all of this for only 3 mana, you're going to get a 2/2 flyer that says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X to put X +1/+1 counters on that creature, and as long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, the Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and has trample. So if you think about it, the bare minimum, all by itself, this card's going to give you a 2/2 that taps for green and a 2/2 flyer for 3 mana total. Just absolutely absurd. If you play anything else with this, if you have 1 more creature on the board, you're going to get a +1/+1 counter on that creature as well from the second ability here. And then if you cast anything after the Remnant of the Rising Stars on board, you get to dump some counters onto that creature as well. This card is ridiculous, and it should be quite a big bomb. And then we have Shigeki Jukai Visionary, probably the weakest rare of the bunch, but by no means is this unplayable. This is a 2 mana 1/3 that has the ability to return it to your hand for 2 mana and reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped and the rest into your graveyard. If you're using this just to ramp, it's a really bad card. If you're just using this at sorcery speed during your turn to try to ramp up some mana and then maybe get some cards back from your grave with the channel ability to return X non-legendary cards from your grave to hand. Yeah, it's really bad if you use it like that, but when you think about it, You can use this as essentially like an infinite chump blocker if you have the mana for it, although it only works really slowly because it has to tap to use the ability. So I think it's still by far the weakest rare here, but I don't know, it's not unplayable. We'll play it if we're in green. We just won't be that excited about it. It's honestly probably on par with the power level of any just like good common, to be honest. But again, not like unplayable. So let's see what we have in our sealed pool. We're definitely hoping for some great support in blue and green for our commons and uncommons, but I usually like to take a look at every color, starting with our multicolored cards so we can see if any of these kind of drag us towards any direction. The rares and the gold cards are the ones that are the most likely to pull you in a certain direction in your sealed pool. And we have a lot of multicolored cards in this one. Wow. We have 2 Jukai Naturalist. If we go down the green-white path, we can have our enchantments cost 1 less. We have a Gloom Shrieker, just a great deal in green-black, returning a permanent from grave to hand when we play this. Oni Colt Anvil, really good for red-black artifacts. Lots of sacrifice synergies with that card. Silver Fur Master, the ninjutsu sort of build around, making the ninjutsu cost cheaper and all the ninjas and rogues bigger. And then the Prodigy's prototype, kind of a vehicle build around, letting you spit out pilot tokens to help crew your vehicles. So none of these are like massive bombs leading us to any direction. So that's not going to change things too much, I think. I think this is definitely the kind of sealed pool that's going to be more driven by the rares than those gold cards there. So we will take a look at every color just to be thorough, and that is what I like to do, just to make sure I have a good idea how each color looks, so I'm not just completely blindsided by the rares. And white looks actually pretty decent here. You know, it looks very like run-of-the-mill, very average because there's no bomb power, but when you look at the consistency we have with white, it's pretty good. Spirited Companions and Air of Enlightenment are some of the best white 2-drops, just really good value. Scry 2, gain 2, make a 2/2 first striker, or get a 1/1 out that draws us a card. Obviously, great with any sacrifice effects, great as a trump blocker, great with anything that cares about enchantments. We have some great 3-drops as well. The Blade Blizzard Kitsune can get in for a lot of damage really quickly. The Golden Tail Disciple just makes racing really hard for your opponent with a solid body and lifelink. And Imperial Subduer's fine if you have a lot of Samurai or Warrior. We don't really. It's only okay by itself. Pretty good with like Moth Rider Patrol, can be quite an annoying attacker alongside it. But yeah, white looks pretty consistent, so white looks like a nice, decent, consistent glue to hold any other color pair together if we want to just play like white and then our most powerful color. Biggest problem with our white is the lack of removal. Not a single removal spell there. We do have a combat trick, though, to try to get there. See how blue is looking now. Wow, we almost have a playset of Spell Pierce, although I don't love main decking Spell Pierce, and I probably won't here. Although pretty much everybody in Sealed is going to be trying to play removal spells, which will all be able to get shot by Spell Pierce in the early game. But Spell Pierce is just such a dead draw in the late game that it's pretty concerning to me, especially because there's a lot of cheap removal spells available in the format, like the 2 mana 3 damage red spell or the 2 mana -2/-2 in black and stuff, and people aren't going to tend to run those kind of removal spells till late game anyway, so by the time they're casting some of the removal spells, they'll probably just have the extra mana, you know? If we play a Kairi, well, I guess Kairi has wards, so that's not a good example, but if we have like a Sky Swimmer Koi out, and then they spend a 3 mana removal spell to kill it, once we pass turn to them, they're just going to have 5 lands out anyway, so they spend 3 mana, and then we Spell Pierce them, and then it still resolves. So really not a big fan of Spell Pierce. Probably not going to try to do that in the blue deck here. Planar Incision's pretty narrow. Moonsnare Prototype's pretty narrow. You can do some fun things in draft with this, but it doesn't look like it's going to work super well with our blue and sealed. I don't love the Future Sentinel, just pretty expensive to play and crew. Suit Up's like a fun little combat trick, but we don't even have enough creatures to really want combat tricks here in blue, it looks like. We'll definitely take a second look at it if we decide blue's one of our 2 main colors, but for now, probably not considering Suit Up. So these would be our best blue cards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 great blue cards. It's a little unfortunate, because ideally if we play blue, we want to play a lot of blue so that we can consistently cast Invoke the Winds. We want blue to be the heaviest color that we play. So we'd want like 13 blue cards and then 10 of our secondary color. That way we get to play 10 islands and 7 of whatever the secondary color ends up being. That being said, blue still looks powerful. Even if we ended up cutting Invoke the Winds, you know, like Sure, there's not a lot of blue cards here, but the ones that are great. Kyrie, Moonsnare Specialist, The Modern Age, Moon Circuit Hacker, Tomeo's Completion, all pretty good cards. So not actually a lot of blue here, so it's possible we don't play blue. But again, blue gives us that Kyrie, blue gives us the chance at playing the Invoke the Winds as well. Let's see what we have now in black. So black looks incredibly consistent. There are a lot of cards to choose from here, and a nice mixture of creatures and non-creatures, and a lot of some of the powerhouse common and uncommon cards in the set. Although there's some mediocre cards I'm probably going to cut. Probably getting rid of these four. Probably getting rid of the Kami of Restless Shadows unless we go specifically a Ninja and Rogue deck, which seems unlikely, so I'll go ahead and cut that here. These we're going to want a Ninjutsu out on 4. So this is kind of what the black cards look like here, but they look pretty powerful. Okiba Reckoner Raid's like the best 1-mana saga, well, one of the best 1-mana sagas, the best common one probably. Your opponent's going to lose 2 life and you're going to gain 2 life, and you're going to get a 2/2 menace, all for only 1 mana. Sure, it takes a little while to pop off, but quite a strong card. Inkrise Infiltrator is great. Really easy way to trigger ninjutsu. Your opponent's never going to want to block this, even if they have the flyers, because you can always threaten to activate this and eat their flyer up. Even if you don't have ninjutsu, pretty good little fire-breathing effect to keep chipping in for damage. Life of Toshiro Umezawa is one of my favorite cards in the entire format. This card's absolutely ridiculous, just gives you so many options on this saga, and then spits out a 2/3 at the end of it all. This can end up being 1 or 2 removal spells with that -1/-1. It can end up dealing an extra 4 damage to your opponent with the +2/+2s. It's just super good card. Lethal Exploit, great cheap removal. Unforgiving 1, nice little menace creature that might get something back. Chainflail Centipede's been pretty nice. It's really good to pair this alongside any evasive creatures like Flying or Menace. Being able to reconfigure this onto those is super nice. Then you can just like unconfigure if you need a chump blocker. And then the Ghost Shintai's fine. The Kami's fine, because it's going to just pop off if you have an artifact and an enchantment. Shadow Walkers are a solid way to potentially be bashing your opponent for 5 on turn 4, which is exciting, and Twisted Embrace is fine removal. So black looks pretty good. Black actually looks like probably our most consistent color so far. So moving on, we are on red now, and then we'll just have green. Oh, some solid removal in red, that's for sure. So in red, we have Flame Discharge and Voltage Surge for solid removal. Kindled Fury is a fine little combat trick if we want to run that. A couple Gift of Wraths to get in with Menace. Not a lot of red cards, though. Not a lot of red cards. We have good ones, like Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Goshintai is pretty solid. Steelbreaker is pretty solid. Yeah, we don't have a lot of... We have like 0 unplayable red cards, at least. Like, this is... If every red card in our sealed pool is in the deck, though, that's still only 10 red cards. But they're all fine. I mean, Kindled Fury isn't great. Gift of Wrath isn't great, so I don't know about running 3 of these total, like maybe 1 Fury and 1 Wrath or something. But yeah, I don't know. Not a lot going on in red. Solid cheap removal, though, and a bomb Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So it's certainly an option to consider. But I think my top 3 right now, white is just very... kind of narrow. There's no removal in there. There's no removal in our blue either, but our blue brings in bomb power. So blue, black, and red are my favorite colors right now. I think black is my #1 favorite, and then blue, and then red is my 3rd from what we've seen. We'll see how green looks. Green had a lot in terms of rares, so hopefully a lot in terms of commons and uncommons to pair well with it as well. Let's see here. A good start, 33 cards here, which means 16 green cards in the sealed pool. Are there any unplayables? Careful Cultivation is super playable. Usually you just channel this to make a 1/1 at instant speed that taps for green. Grafted Growth is playable if we want to go 3 colors. If we want to try to play Invoke cards, it'll help do that. Historian's Wisdom's solid. Usually you'll have the biggest creature on the board when you cast this, so it's like an aura that gives +2/+1 and you draw a card. If it doesn't draw a card, it's not worth it, but if it does, it's pretty good. I don't think we have any unplayable green cards, really. Master's Rebuke is super playable. Cultivation's super playable. The Wisdoms and Grafted Growths are like kind of medium. But Bosiju Reaches Skyward is a huge game ender. The branch of Bosiju just becomes such a big creature. Plus, this is drawing you 2 cards when you play it, even if they are just forests. That's still helpful for making the branch bigger. Obviously, the Mythic Rare and Rare Saga that we have are great. Heir of the Ancient Fang, you want to have a lot of modified stuff for this to pop off, otherwise it's just a 3-mana 2/3, but we have a decent amount of modified going on, it looks like. We have Jukai Defends the Temple and Teachings of the Kirin being our biggest ways to modify cards. That being said, this would probably be one of the first cuts. Bearer of Memory, you want a lot of enchantment creatures, and it does cost a lot of mana to use the ability, so usually it just kind of sits there doing nothing, but you ever activate the effect, you're pretty happy. I don't know, I'll put that in the maybe pile as well. Shigeki's like the slowest card in the whole deck, but it's still a 2-mana 1/3 with a bunch of random text on it that might come into play. You know, a 2-mana 1/3 is not the end of the world. It's a 2-mana 1/3 that's like a really good top deck late game, because you just pick up your 2 best cards from grave. And Zeus's Many Journeys is pretty fine, because it's a nice draw early game. It's not super good if you draw late game, but still. Generous Visitor and Fang of Shigeki are great there, though. And I guess if we're playing Fang of Shigeki, we may as well play Shigeki themselves. So yeah, green, I mean, it just gives us the most rares. It gives us pretty bomby stuff. And we have a removal spell here too with Master's Rebuke. And the filler cards in green aren't even that bad. The Heirs and the Bearer and the Historian's Wisdom and Grafted Growth. So I'm feeling the green pretty well here. My qualm about blue-green would be a pretty distinct lack of removal if we go on that path. But we can try to splash here. We have good lands to do so. We have Swiftwater's Cliffs to help splash in red if we want to go blue-red-green. Thornwood Falls helps with blue-green mana, and Uncharted Haven helps splash anything, so that's going in our deck no matter what. So we could go blue-green and then splash our 2 red removal spells, potentially. We have Ninja's Kunai we can use in any deck, which is fine to kill small things. Probably put that in for now. Yeah, kind of like taking a look at the potential blue-green with a red splash here. Although we don't have any Tanuki, which is an issue, because we'd like to have cards that can pull a basic land out of our deck, but we have 0. I guess we have Shigeki to do that, but that's only a land out of the top 4, so it doesn't let you pull out the exact land that you want, which is ideal. Yeah, we didn't get the Tanuki, we didn't get the Ecologist's Terrariums. These are 2 of the best cards for mana fixing in the format, so it's pretty big bummer not to get any of those. Alright, so if we go blue-green-red, we are definitely not playing Invoke the Wilds. That being said, I could just cut Swiftwater Cliffs for now and take a look at blue-green, and then just use these good mana-fixing cards to make sure we can hit quadruple blue. So we'll take a look at just blue-green for now, no red involved. See how that looks. We do have a removal spell in blue. I totally forgot. We technically have 2, because we have Tamiyo's Completion as a removal spell in blue, and then we have Invoke the Winds, if we could ever cast this thing, as a really big removal spell in blue. So yeah, blue-green actually does look pretty good. We probably cut a little bit of green cards here to run more blue sources, and we might even run 18 lands just to get more blue sources in here, although our curve is not that high at all. We just need 4 mana, really, most of the time. I don't think I'd want to run Disruption Protocol in a 2-color deck, because we'd want to hit double blue pretty early. Although we're probably not holding up the mana for a counterspell till late game anyway, so we'd slap it in here, I guess. Just 3 mana counterspell. Alright, let's take a look. Blue-green, how does this look? What do we do here to kind of make the deck function more? Nothing modified in blue to combo with the Heir of the Ancient Fangs. We're probably cutting those. So we do want to cut a little bit of blue again to make, or a little bit of green to make blue a more primary color in the deck. So we'll cut the Heir. The Heirs, we only have 9 creatures in here, but that's not counting our sagas. If you count our sagas, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Alright, 14 is still a pretty low count. We definitely don't want to cut more creatures. And with a low creature count, we probably don't want too many auras and stuff like that, so probably cut the Historian's Wisdoms. Definitely keeping Grafted Growth to help cast the Invoke the Winds. Stuff like that. So we'll cut the 2 Wisdoms then, I guess, and then we probably want 18 lands, potentially. Although I still feel like the curve really ends at 4, so... Yeah, no, I don't think I'm doing 18 lands. So I guess we'll just put the 2 Heir of the Ancient Fang back in. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Could cut it in the middle and just go 1 and 1. We only have 15 creatures in here, though. That's probably enough for one little aura like Historian's Wisdom. Just don't want a ton of them. Alright, and then we don't have anything in our whole deck that requires double green. We just need to hit that 1 green source, and currently we have 9 in the deck. We really want to hit the 4 blue sources, so I think we want to cut 1 or 2 green sources here. We still have 9 green sources this way, or 8 green sources, 6 forests, Thornwood Falls, and Uncharted Haven. And then this way we have 9, 10, 11 blue sources to help cast Invoke the Winds. 8 green sources is an average of 1 green source out of every 5 cards drawn. So most of our openers should have a green source, and we only need the 1. It would be ideal to have 2 so that we can play, 2 green cards in one turn. Turn 4, we can play an Archer and a Shigeki or something like that. But I think I'd be willing to still keep the mana base like this, just so drastically weighted towards blue in order to run Invoke the Winds. If we wanted to have a better mana base, I think it would be better to cut Invoke the Winds and then just make a good mana base than to leave Invoke the Winds in and try to cut down on the blue that we have here, because then we just have a dead card in our hands so often. Again, with 10 blue sources in the deck, in order to draw 4 of those, 1 out of every 4, it's going to take till you have 16 cards. It's 9 turns in. So we have 11 blue sources and a grafted growth, which is kind of 13 blue sources because the growth is 2 of them in 1. It's double blue. So 13 blue sources. I think Invoke the Winds is actually pretty reasonable. Maybe we could even cut down 1 island and add in 1 forest, but I don't really want to go farther than that. I think the blue-green deck's looking actually pretty spicy here with the Invoke the Winds. I think this would be the deck. I'm going to actually save this and then take a look at the teamer deck, the blue-green-red deck. And I did like the black cards a lot, so I probably want to take a look at that as well, just to make sure that doesn't look significantly better than whatever we were trying to do. So if we muddy up the waters here, make the mana base even less consistent, we get to slam in another removal spell, another bomb, the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's probably all we'd want to do. I don't know if I'd want to put a 3rd red card in here, the Voltage Surge. Probably just these 2. In which case, what would we do to our mana to make this happen? We definitely cut Historian's Wisdom now and the Heir of the Ancient Fang. Those are the 2 cuts for the red cards. So that's cutting 2 green cards. So cut 2 green cards, throw in 1 mountain probably. And then we have 3 red sources and a grafted growth, so 4 red sources. And both of the red cards we put in don't need to be cast till late game. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, ideally we're casting it earlier, but Flame Discharge, we're usually not casting it till we have enough mana to kill something big anyway. With just those 2 cards added, is this deck even any better? The mana's not that much worse. I guess we have to cut... How many... Wait, did I not cut enough cards? We have 18 lands in here, so we have to, cut a land, and then cut a land, throw in a mountain? Yeah, I don't think the mana base is that much worse. It's definitely worse. But at the same time, if we can't cast Fable of the Mirror Breaker like turn 3, how big of a bomb is this if we're casting it on like turn 6? It's not that big. Because like if we're getting beaten down, this card does not help us whatsoever. If we're getting beaten down on turn 6 and we're just making a 2-2 and then another 2-2, this is one of those cards that's going to go dramatically up in value the earlier you can cast it. And if it's our splash color, we're just not consistently casting it in the early game because we're not going to consistently have a red source early on if we only have 3 or 4 in the deck. And obviously, because it's a splash, we can't afford to put more than that in the deck. So we just can't reliably hit that source early on. I don't think I want to do the red splash. I think we have enough bomb potential in just green-blue. Like, we have explosive stuff. Invoke the Winds, Kairi, Jugan Defends the Temple, Besieger Reaches Skyward, even just our uncommons. Yeah, I don't want to go down the red path. Let's see how black looks. Maybe Golgari here. We had a great Golgari uncommon, and Golgari just looked, black just looked pretty consistent in general. Is it 17 lands still? Yeah, it's 17 lands. Okay. So throwing the black cards for a green-black deck, we definitely throw in Gloom Shrieker, which is an excellent card in general. Take another look through our colorless cards, but none of these looked very good. Yeah, I don't think we're playing any colorless cards no matter what we go down. Definitely playing the Reckoner Raid, the Lethal Exploit to the Life of Toshiro Umezawa, Twisted Embrace, probably go Shintai, The Menacer and the Chain Flail. And the Flyer combos well with the Ninjutsu card, so we can go Flyer and then Ninjutsu card here. Don't have a lot of artifacts in this deck, do we? We have 2 artifacts. I don't really want to play Kami of Terrible Secrets. It's just not going to trigger often. It's just a 4 mana 3/4. I'd rather just play like another Shadow Walker maybe. We'll put in these green cards again so we have those to choose from. We might change the deck around if we go the green-black route. Generous Visitor is definitely good in the green-black. Because now we have 17 enchantments. Oh my god. Alright, so if we go green-black, we probably don't even want Grafted Growth anymore because we're not trying to hit any super wild mana costs. We wouldn't be playing that, wouldn't be playing that, wouldn't be playing all these. Grab our swamps here. Cut 4 more cards in order to make this Golgari deck functional. Not so sure about having a lot of modified creatures. Again, we do have a little bit of like +1/+1 counters, a couple auras. Just not super sure on that one. Bearer of Memory is real slow. Again, for modified, not so sure, so air is not great. I absolutely love bouncing a saga like Life of Chishiro Mizawa with the Ninjutsu card, so I really like the Shadow Walkers for that. And in our color pair, we can also just hard cast these as 6 mana 5/5s and be happy. We're cool with that. Love the Fang of Shigeki with Master's Rebuke. Reckoner Raid's always great. We have Master's Rebuke and Twisted Embrace and Lethal Exploit for removal in this color pair. So even, I guess the removal isn't even that much better in the green-black color pair. But I just really like Life of Chishiro Mizawa. It's probably just because I love that card so much that I love the looks of this color pair. We can cut these 4. And this is the deck. This is a pretty consistent, pretty quick deck here. Actually pretty spicy. I'm going to take a screen cap of this. Because I can't save 2 decks at once, so I'm going to take just a screen cap of it. Wow, I got my Bamboo Grove Archer to just cover everything up. Thanks, Snipping Tool. New snip. Alright, here we go. I've got a screen cap of it now, so I can open that up and view the decks side by side and see which looks best to me. And then, if I like the green-blue deck better, then I'll just keep it. If I like the green-black deck better, we'll swap to the green-black. So let's open that up. Here's the green-blue deck. And I will open up my screen cap of the green-black. Take a look at them side by side. Both of these decks have a pretty aggressive curve. The green-black is even more aggressive, though. We have more 1-drops and another, well, like 3-drop in there. Double Historian's Wisdom gets pretty aggressive too. Really just gets down on the ground running though. But the green-blue deck, much bigger, just late game blowout potential with Invoke the Winds and Kairi. Those are the 2 biggest cards drawing me into blue. We don't have that much blue going on here. So the mana is a little awkward here. But we do have, 9 green sources, 10 blue sources, plus Grafted Growth, so the mana's really not bad at all. This is a really hard choice. I think both of those decks looked really sweet. I think the choice is really between the slightly more consistent deck or the slightly more powerful deck, slightly more impactful late game plays. What is our artifact to enchantment count here? 14 enchantments here, so still, more than enough for Generous Visitor to kind of pop off. I think I'm just going to go with some basic bread and butter sealed here and stick with our most powerful rares for now. If we have a lot of mana issues, we can certainly hop over and see how the Golgari deck fares. I think they're both really good. We're definitely a green deck. That's just a certainty. And I don't think we're green-white. I don't think we're green-red. There just aren't a lot of red or white cards. Double Naturalist is pretty sweet, but they're not even comboing with much in white. We could cast Spirited Companions for 1, I guess, but again, not much. Well, I think this is gonna be the deck. At least for round 1. Here we are, round 1 on the play. We get to start with the turn 2 Teachings of the Kirin. So a 2-mana 2/2, bare minimum. So we'll get a 1/1 out turn 2, and then on turn 3, once it loses Summoning Sickness, we'll make it a 2/2. This card does combo well with Shigeki, so it's going to work in the green-blue or the green-black deck well, because Shigeki will be able to bring back some stuff from our grave if we milled anything good, and we did. What the heck, alright. Yeah, some good stuff in the grave. Shigeki, why can't Shigeki return legendary cards? That's, I guess so you can't loop Shigekis? You can't have them return themselves? That sucks. That's actually a really big bummer for our deck. So if we ever mill our Kairi, we're just out of luck there. That's brutal. Alright, let's get attacking with a 2-2 here on turn 2, and then we'll probably just cast Shigeki. Ready to potentially spit some lands out in the future. We don't need a 3-3 defender right now, they've got nothing on board. So we'll get our card with an activated ability to play around with when we have the extra mana. Chain Flail Centipede will be the first play from our opponent. We really need to dig for some blue sources with Shigeki because we have drawn our quadruple blue card and only one blue source thus far. Offer the trade with our 2-2 here, and then we'll probably just cast our Sky Swimmer Koi. Get a 3-3 flyer onto the board. Pretty aggressive start from us. We've got quite a bit of stuff on board thanks to the Kirin Touch Orochi, the teachings of the Kirin. Got a 2-2 from the first side, what could be a 2-2 on the second side too. If they attack with the Centipede, I'm taking it. Easy as can be. Just makes it more likely that the Kirin Touch Orochi gets to get in and stay around. Stick around. I think we're quite likely to outrace a Chain Flail Centipede, and we can kill whatever their next card is with a Master's Rebuke, unless it has 4 toughness or more. Just ninjutsu down a lifelinker, and is a lot harder to race because they gain life off of it. We did hit a blue source, which is fantastic. We're on the way to invoke the winds now, halfway there. Probably going to use Shigeki here. I don't believe I want to attack with Shigeki, but I want to attack with everybody else. I'd rather have the Kirin Touch Orochi become a 2-2, so we exile one of the non-creatures here. And we hold up Master's Rebuke and Shigeki's ability. Spreading out our power toughness a bit here. Passing the turn. So if they attack in with Mukotai Ambusher, we can block and pick up Shigeki to shut off their life gain. Could also just Master's Rebuke it and kill it. Shigeki's going to fill our graveyard with some more stuff to pick up with their channel ability later. The Long Reach of Night. They're going to make us sacrifice a creature twice here. Pretty annoying. I guess I'm sacrificing the 2-2 with no abilities here. And then that'll flip into a big scary menace creature. Pretty horrifying artwork on the front and the back. I could discard a card instead. I guess I can discard the Bamboo Grove Archer. Okay, so no attacks. I think I want to rebuke the Ambusher. Then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power on the board. Yeah, rebuking the Ambusher feels right here. But I could also use Shigeki first, and if we hit a blue source, it's possible we just top deck another blue source, and then we just invoke the winds instead. Yeah, now I think I'm just going to pass to our turn. Okay, we didn't top deck the blue source, so we're going to rebuke Ambusher before attacks. And then just send in. They don't have any non-creatures in their grave. A little awkward. We'll take our counterspell. It's going to be the weakest card to return with the channel ability. And I think I'm just going to play Bearer of Memory here, just to get more power on the board. They are down to 4. Then we'll just discard Shigeki. I guess I'm not returning anything, because I can just attack them for lethal instead. And invoke the winds is a lot more helpful. for doing that, although I do need another blue source to get there. But we're halfway through the deck here. Drawing our 20th card in the library next turn. Our opponent going into the think tank to see if they have any answers to all this on board. Ishin, Two Heavens is 1 is only helpful on the attacks, although it does combo with the Animus of Knight's Reach. That'll get the double plus X plus O, which is cool. They're just going to pass the turn now. Possibly. Yep. We hit the blue source, see if Invoke the Winds resolves. It's kind of already lethal, but we can make it just super extra mega lethal to be safe. Alright. If we didn't invoke the winds, then they could survive with 2 instant speed removal spells. If we do invoke the winds, I don't think there's anything they can survive with. So if they had exactly like Voltage Charge, should do 2 damage to that. The Wanderer's Intervention to do 4 damage to that. And then they like block there, then they just go to 1. Do something like that. So they had potential outs if that didn't resolve. But turns out the strongest card in our deck will resolve, and we will run away with it to victory. Although that game was really won by probably like the teachings of the Kieran. It's just that coming down turn 2, just consistently getting bigger was really nice. One of the more average looking rares, but worked out quite well there on the play. So here we are now in round 2. I really like this start. Generous Visitor turn 1, Teachings of the Kieran turn 2. We are on the play. Turn 3 we'll play our Uncharted Haven on blue. The Ninja's Kunai to play if I want to do that instead, but rather just be getting in here. We can cast that next turn. So 2-2 and a 1-1 on our board right now as we wait for our opponent. They're on green-red, and they pass the turn here, turn 2. Do naturally draw a blue source. We could play Modern Age plus Ninja's Kunai. I think that's going to be the play for me here. I doubt we'll need to Tamiyo's Completion next turn. And this is just going to threaten so much damage here so quickly. Make our Visitor a 3-3 so it can survive their 2 damage burn spell. Would still die to the... This is actually a little sketchy. I think I discard Uncharted Haven now that we have Grafted Growth. It does still die to their 3 damage burn spell for 2 mana, which does exist at common in this format. They have 3 mana now. A Bearer of Memory it is, a 3-2. Get our Teachings of the Kieran as a creature now. Modern Age draws discards, gets us to Kairi, if we can get the mana for that. Drugan defends the temple, helps get the mana for it. Grafted Growth does. Tamiyo's Completion just slows our opponent down. We already have Ninja's Kunai to kill their 3-2. I guess we're getting rid of Tamiyo's Completion here. Kind of want a Grafted Growth. We're set up for a great attack here. Make these both 4/4s. Now we have triple blue. Because we have blue plus one of our forests can add double blue. I guess we can't make both of these 4/4s. We just make one of them a 4/4. I guess if I did this the other way, I could threaten to attack with both of them, but I don't think I would want to lose a creature here. It would probably be worth it. They're so low on life. If I just made Visitor a 4/4 and that a 3/3 attack both, it's probably our best bet there. They have 4 mana up now and 6 cards in hand to try to stabilize their position here. They're facing down a 3/3, 4/4, and a 1/1 with a bunch of text. And they'll go ahead and play a tapped 4/5 with Harmonious Emergence. 5 mana now, not enough for Kairi, but we're getting very close, and Jugan defends the temple will help with that as well. Plus, of course, putting a +1/+1 counter on something. With Generous Visitor. I don't even need to equip the Kunai here, so I don't think I will. I think I'm going to attack with these, and we can make it lethal if they don't block either of these, so we just attack with all. They can't block the Kieran, or they die. Alright, so they're just going to die there. They will choose to end the game there, and that will be 2-0. Round 3 now, our opponent is on the play. We've got a pretty excellent hand. We've got our blue-green dual land turn 1, and then multiple options turn 2, depending on what they do. If they dump down that 1-1 flyer, we can just drop a 2-2 defender reach. Otherwise, we're probably playing the Modern Age first, then Shigeki. Or Shigeki, then the Modern Age, I don't know. One of those two for sure. Opponent starts with the red-green dual land. And then a black source, so red, green, and black at least. Got a couple 4-drops in here. I might want to just play Shigeki in order to ramp out next turn. So we play a 4-mana card on... Well, it would still be a 4-mana card turn 4, but... It would guarantee we play a 4-mana card turn 4. Because we don't know that we'll draw the 4th land here. Only 3 in hand. I probably should have just ran out the Modern Age, because that functionally helps do the same thing, drawing and discarding, until we hit another land. It does it cheaper. Yeah, because now I'm just going to be really tempted to just slam down the Modern Age anyway, and hope for a 4th land in the top 2 cards here. Top 3 cards, because we draw discard next turn, we draw discard plus draw for turn. Yeah, if there's a land in the top 3, Modern Age is going to be better than using Shigeki. So let's dig for it. There we go, there's the land. We'll discard the counterspell here, I think. Or the Bamboo Grove Archer. That doesn't look likely to be that big. Discard the Archer. Hit for 1. Yeah, I think I definitely need to get better at my sequencing for the Arena Open next week. Or by the time you're watching this Friday. Probably just always supposed to slam down the sagas and stuff really, really quickly. Definitely don't want to discard a blue source now that we've invoked the wilds. They have Hidetsugu out. We probably want to just Tamiyo's Completion that here. So we might discard the counterspell now because I really want to hold on to Besiju Reaches Skyward as well. Sorry, counterspell. But now is your time. Shut off the Hidetsugu, attack for 1. Next turn we'll now have a 2-3 flyer out as well. We'll only be 1 blue source away from an Invoke the Winds. See how badly our opponent's going to jund us out here. What do they have after Hidetsugu? A 1-1 Iron Apprentice, and a Grafted Growth to make it a 2-2. That'll move both counters over when it dies. Pretty solid little combo there. Alright. So now, kind of want to just reach Skyward and get ready to make a giant branch in the future, but I could also just play a flyer and start beating down in the sky. It'll be more immediate damage. Could also play Heir of the Ancient Fang, so I have the mana to Shigeki to get the 4th blue source for Invoke. Just get that guaranteed. This looks like it's going to be a long game no matter what I do, so we'll just play our most impactful plays that use the most of our mana first. Our most impactful stuff over time. And this sets up for a nice... I was going to say for a nice land draw, but it just makes it more likely to draw islands now that there's 2 less forests. The island to forest ratio has shifted a little more in the island direction. Could put a land from our grave on top, but we don't have one anyway. And I don't think we would want to, unless there was an island in there. Twisted Embrace, so there goes our Vector Glider, I'm guessing. Oh, there goes Shigeki, fair enough. We'll take 3 here. Down to 18. Just start racing in with our flyer for now. Ooh, Jugan defends the temple. Excellent draw. Could play that alongside the Heir of the Ancient Fang, but that'll just be a 2-3. It won't get the counter, and this will just be a 1-1 monk. But still, it makes the board wide. We just chump block the Iron Apprentice with a 1-1 monk to stop some damage, and then next turn our board gets pretty ridiculous because we start putting counters on stuff. And again, the earlier this saga flips, the better. The earlier we get that 2-2 flyer with all kinds of insane text, the better. So next turn we're going to have a big old branch of Boseiju. Or branch of Boseiju. My apologies on the pronunciation on everything all the time. If I'm ever super wrong on the pronunciation of anything, just let me know in the comments, and if I see it, whenever I see it, I will do my best to correct it in the future. I usually manage to see all of the comments that are just posted on the videos. YouTube's a little weird about it though. Whenever you like reply to somebody's comment, I basically never see those because it doesn't like notify me on those or add them to the list of like comments you haven't responded to or whatever. So if you respond to my comment or if you respond to somebody else's comment, it doesn't really tell me. They're like the secret comments, the hidden comments. Gotta go find those. So Twin Shot Sniper, one of the best cards in the set. Super, super great card. True 3 reach, plus it kills something when it comes in, does 2 to any target. It's like a Ravenous Chupacabra from Rivals of Ixalan. If you ever drafted that format, it was pretty absurd. It doesn't matter what order we put, we're not going to be able to put a counter on our big tree. Now Sky Swimmer, Koi into Ninja's Kunai, see if we draw a blue source, because we get to draw a discard when we play an artifact. Probably better than not playing these cards. Draw a card, not a blue source. Can equip a kunai and throw it at something if we want. Only thing to throw it at would be a Twin Shot Sniper. Which does not really matter. I think I attack with one of these. Attack with both. I have a 6/6 up here. Yeah, the only reason not to attack with one would be if I want to hold on to the Ninja's Kunai to use at instant speed. Just equip it to something here. Equip it to the Sky Swimmer Koi. Alright, so our opponent has now gotten a Reckoner Bankbuster down, and they've got the mana to start drawing a card each turn off of it. They do that for 3 turns, and then it'll spit out a pilot that'll just start crewing it as a 4/4. Reinforced Ronin coming down. I love this card. 1 mana 2/2 haste at the beginning of your end step, return it to your hand, and then you can discard it from your hand for 2 mana to draw a card if it becomes irrelevant later in the game. Super fun card. So they're just going to use it to sacrifice to kill the 3/4 flyer of ours. Fair enough. If they attack in here, I expect that you are already dead to just destroy a damaged creature. Alright, so no attacks here. And there's the blue source for Invoke the Winds. And there's not a huge point in using it here. Unless we can just find immediate lethal. Which, I guess we could. If they have no instance, we can kill the Iron Apprentice with Sky Swimmer Koi and then steal the Twin Shot Sniper. Then they have no blockers left and they take 11 exactly. Now let's go for it here. We clear their board. See what their instants are. Probably just instant speed removal to kill our branch. They have a protection spell for the Iron Apprentice. I don't think this could go colossally wrong for us. And if it goes well for us, we just win immediately, so we'll go for it here. What say you, opponent? Flame Discharge is what they say. Alright, so that's just lethal then. They don't have Flame Discharge up anymore to kill our 3/4 on the ground, so another removal spell clears the path to hit for 11 here. They can crew a tapped Bankbuster. I think that will not be enough. And that is game. Round 4 in the blue-green Kamigawa Neon Dynasty sealed. We are 3-0 so far. And a pretty good opening hand here. I wouldn't say excellent, because it is a bit slow. A lot of tapped lands, no real play till turn 3. But it has some powerful plays lined up for the future. We do get a turn 1 play now, but we don't have the green mana for it anyway. So it'll be played at turn 2 instead. So we already have 2 green sources, because we have the green-blue plus the forest in hand, and we have a quadruple blue requiring card in hand, so I think I want to play Uncharted Haven on blue. Do I play that this turn, or do I just slam down Visitor Kunai? I think being able to kill this automaton before they play too many artifacts is going to be pretty big here. So I kind of do like playing Visitor Kunai so that I can equip the Visitor with the Kunai next turn and blow it up immediately. That seems like something I need to kill quickly, or else it will get quite big and quite threatening. So I'm going to go Visitor Kunai here, strangely enough. And then we're probably just not playing Jugen Defends the Temple till turn 4, because we just need to deal with this automaton to make sure that we last until later in the game. Oh my god. Wow, this is an incredible sealed pool from our opponent. 2 automatons turn 3. A wild start and a really good sealed pool from them. Incredibly threatening. I have to dump all 3 mana this turn into killing an automaton if I want one to be dead. And I honestly really do. Kill the bigger one here. I have to spend 1. Oh my god, I have to spend another. The ward 2 is insane. I have to spend 3 to kill a patchwork automaton, which means I have to just play Shigeki this turn. Next turn, I can spend the 3 to kill an automaton. Oh, this is disastrous. I guess I could just double block here instead. But then I lose a generous visitor when I'm about to play another enchantment, which is rough. If I survive till late game, this hand takes it. We have Jugen Defends the Temple plus Kairi the Swirling Sky. So how hard are we trying to survive till late game? I think we're going to try pretty hard here. We're just going to take this early trade. Oh, they leave our generous visitor on board. We can kill both automatons? Now I feel pretty comfortable. Now I actually feel pretty comfortable here. And they're stuck on 2 mana still. So as long as we can just kill all these automatons. Got nothing much else to worry about here. Next turn we play Jugen Defends the Temple, and then the turn after that we play Kairi, and see if Kairi can just take it. It's a real sketchy start. Real nervous about double automaton. Now we do have to worry about a Blade Blizzard Kitsune though, which is worrisome for sure. Just cost, tap an untapped artifact. Okay, so we're not going to be able to cast the Disruption Protocol here, but we're still definitely casting the Defend the Temple. So they are going to equip their Kunai to their Artificer, and then blow up our Visitor with it. But we'll leave the Visitor untapped so they can't attack in with the Kitsune unless they equip a Ninja's Kunai first to blow up our Visitor. Alright, they are going to go ahead and blow up the Visitor here to get in with the Kitsune for 4, put us down to 15. I guess I could chump block. Just kind of gain 4 life blocking with the 1/1. But the 1/1's going to be a 2/2 now. And the 2/2's big enough to trade into their 2/2, which is cool. Okay. We would rather play Kairi and hold up our 2/2 than tap our 2/2 to play Kairi. Kairi has Ward 3, so really hard for them to target Kairi. Have to be a 1 mana spell that can kill it right now with 4 mana up here. There's a Dragon Spark Reactor. That's a very concerning card, similar to the double Patchwork Automaton. These cards that just get wildly out of control as they play artifacts and enchantments. Alright, so now as we play creatures, we get to dump as much mana as we want to put X counters on those creatures, so we can just play a Moon Circuit Hacker and make it a pretty dang big as a blocker. I think that's what I want to do, so just dump 5 extra mana into it. Could even just Moon Snare Specialist, put their Kitsune back to their hand, put 3 counters on it. That's actually pretty spicy too. I'm going to go for that. And just start bashing with some really big creatures, outrace this Dragon Spark Reactor, and they're just scooping them up. They are over it. Just a ridiculous board state from us. They're like, yeah, I'd rather not play against the double mythic Dragon Spirits that are out so far. So that'll be 4-0 now from the ridiculous kind of green-blue Sagas deck here. Round 5 now, still undefeated with our deck with just a bunch of ridiculous rares, and this hand is no exception. Teachings of the Kirin turn 2. Shigeki, not the most ridiculous rare, but it has been scaring people and drawing removal, so doing its job for sure. We're just going to go for that to turn 2. Teachings of the Kirin here. Ooh, there goes our Jugen Defends the Temple, but we have Shigeki in hand to return that to our hand when we want it, because that is not legendary. We need to have 4 mana up minimum in order to do the Shigeki thing. That's to return 1 card. 6 mana to return 2. I think I'll go Grafted Growth here rather than the Careful Cultivation. We have a blue, 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 so we'll have blue, 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 blue. We'll have quadruple blue even if I put this on a blue source, so we'll put it on a blue source, so it's easier to get more green mana if we need that as well. And we'll attack with a 3/3 Spirit Token. And our opponent cycles a Careful Cultivation, their own little bit of ramp going on here. And a Searchlight Companion, 2 1/1s on 1 card. They attack in for 1. And our Teachings of the Kirin will flip into the 1/1 body now. Bunch of instant speed stuff to do, so I think I'll hold for that. Hold up our counterspell, and if we don't need to use it, we'll probably make our 1/1. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're still 1 mana away from bringing 2 things back from grave, and I think that's what I'd like to do with Shigeki here, so we'll just hold on to our channel effect and our counterspell. Blue-green mirror match here. Turn 4 from them now. And looks like just attacking in. First and foremost, we'll take 1. And then Kura the Boundless Sky. Let's go ahead and counter that. That's a pretty good opportunity for our counterspell to come in clutch here. Their own mythic rare Dragon Spirit. Just deal with that before it hits the board so we don't have to worry about its death trigger. And now we can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 mana. Even if the 1/1 dies, we can stay aggressive here. Definitely want to make the Orochi too big for them to trade into with their 1/1, but we'll let our 1/1s trade if they want. And then the end step, we'll get our best 2 cards from grave back to our hand. Or Master's Rebuke if we need to kill another bomb. Although Master's Rebuke's only going to do 3 damage. That seems good. I guess we're going to have to... We don't have the mana actually to use Shigeki and bring back our counterspell. Yeah, that seems good then. Turn 5 Kura, turn 6 Kairi. There's an additional cost to cast. Tap an untapped artifact. We don't have an untapped artifact. We'd spend double green and 2 to bring it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we spend 4 mana to bring it back. And we'd have to spend 3 mana to counter, so we actually would have needed the 1 more mana from the 1/1 to do another counterspell here. But I wasn't expecting double legendary mythic Dragon Spirit. That'll do it, I guess. I mean, they're down to 9. They're down to 9. It's not impossible to still just get them here. Probably want Jugen Defends the Temple and Fang of Shigeki. Fang of Shigeki makes it so Master's Rebuke can kill Kairi, but again, if we kill Kairi, they return all our stuff on board to our hand. Yeah, they bounce our 3-3. It's completely dead. They bounce our Kieran. We've lost all the progress. We start back on square one of the saga. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, though. Yeah, I mean, that's rough, but I think it's where we're at here. Might as well get the damage in with these two while we can. Right? Ward 3, so we have to spend 5 mana to Rebuke and 1 mana to Fang, so we have to spend all our mana to get rid of Kairi here. So, yeah, might as well get the damage in while we can. I think that's our best play. Send in, get 3 damage in here. I think I'd rather exile their creature from grave because they probably still block the Kirin Touch Orochi here over the 3-3. Yeah, so we still get in for just as much damage, and this way we get to exile the Kura. Yeah, so now we're on Fang of Shigeki, Master's Rebuke, and our board is gone, but so is Kairi. Just gotta hope our cards that are left are better than theirs. I'm actually happy they put Grafted Growth back in our hand. Just get another +1/+1 counter out of that. Well, I guess we only have 1 green source on board, so that does make it a little awkward. So we play it before we get the counter. Although I could just play Bosiju, reach it skyward, and grab 2 forests. Yeah, probably casting that first. Go forest, play our Fang and our Kunai. They know exactly what's in our hand. Uncharted Haven on green, slap for 1 in the sky. I'm gonna blow up our Death Toucher here with a spinning wheel kick. I do not want that land back. Land for turn. I don't want to play this Heir of the Ancient Fang until we have a modified creature down, so let's play Jukin Defends the Temple. Get a 1/1. Play... If I play Grafted Growth, then it's modified because we put a counter on it, but then I only have 2 mana up instead of 3. So I could also just equip Kunai and then it's modified and then play Heir this turn instead. That seems better to me. Get the Heir out this turn with a modified creature down instead of waiting a turn. And if we really need the +1/+1 counter, we can get it on their next turn with Grafted Growth. Jukai Preserver from our opponent, pretty great card. Nice little 4 mana 4/4 is how they're going to play it here. And then no attacks. Bearer of Memories, a super solid draw. Can give creatures trample for that 6 mana. Pretty big. Got a super big branch of Bosiju here too. We've got a 4/5 here ready to attack with. Attack with a 4/5, hold up the Kunai. If something weird happens, make it a 5/6, 4/5, 6 power. Make it a 5/6, there's no way they can kill it. So we'll make it a 5/6 here. And then just attack with that. Get a chump block down. Tamio's Completion. Alright, a removal spell. Fair enough. We will play Bearer of Memory this turn then, give Branch of Bosiju trample next turn, and it should be pretty quick lethal next turn. And I always forget, Kunai can deal damage to a player. That is very important to remember. I should definitely tell myself that here so I know in the future. Alright, show off your trick, your schemes. Ninjutsu. Alright, that resolves. Shoot that so they can't draw a card and they have no out. So they just have Searchlight Companion in hand to make chump blockers, but we have Trample. Yeah, make some chump blockers, but we'll just trample over for lethal thanks to Bearer of Memory. So attack all, trample to the branch. And that is lethal this turn. So we are now 5-0. Round 6, here we go. Still undefeated so far somehow. Mainly off the back of some great rares and mythics in this sealed pool. We'll see if we can continue that streak here. We've got a pretty good start. Zeus's Many Journeys can help get our lands out a little quicker. We've got quite a lot of cheap cards to play here. We're definitely going to want to Master's Rebuke this Lion Sash as quickly as possible. Because if they reconfigure that, it's going to be way harder for us to kill. I may even want to cast a Moon Circuit Hacker here to guarantee I have a creature out. Although I guess next turn I'll have 4 mana down, so next turn I can play the Hacker plus the Master's Rebuke if the Lion Sash is still a creature at that time. So I think that's the plan. Next turn. Although they've held 3 mana up here to kind of counter the Master's Rebuke if I go for it. Might not be worth it. I'm still going to play the 2 mana creature, and then I'll just hold on to Master's Rebuke to use at instant speed. Depending on what they play, how they spend their mana. Geothermal Kami. So we know Master's Rebuke resolves now, so we'll kill the Sash. Now we don't have to worry about their Scavenging Ooze equipment card here. Ooh, now we have a counterspell to hold up. That's really nice. We're going to have easily the biggest creature on the board. If we Historian's Wisdom. When enters battlefield, if enchanted permanent is a creature with the greatest power. So even if I put it on the Hacker, we'll draw a card off of it. Although if I cast anything here, I don't get to hold up my counterspell, so I may wait a turn. Because I've already played land for turn this turn. What happens if this gets blocked? Untap 3 lands you control. Spicy. I guess that combos well with Bearer of Memory. We could just play Bearer of Memory here. We're not going to have any artifacts up. We don't get to do our counterspell if I do anything else. Literally anything else. You know what? I'm just going to take the coward's way here and just hold up counter magic. Seems like it was a good time to do that. That'll be the second Kura we've countered in 2 games. Alright, now what do? We don't have a counterspell to hold up, so we just Historian's Wisdom on our Likeness of the Seeker. We draw a card, make it a 5/4. If they trade with Kami, we untap 3 lands and still get to cast everything else in our hand. Seems spicy to me. Spicy little combo to me. Teachings of the Kirin to get a 1/1, and Bearer of the Memory to start dumping counters onto the Moon Circuit Hacker. They have 6 mana up now. Countered 1 Legendary Dragon, but no counter mana up now. Just a 4/5 Vigilance Haste. Still pretty big, pretty bad, but certainly more beatable than the Dragon. So where do we want to put a counter here? We could put a counter on the Bearer of Memory and then attack in with it, and we could put another counter on it, making it a 5-4 to trade into their 5-4. Although it's probably better to just keep the mana sink around, so we want to put this counter somewhere else. Probably want it on Moon Circuit Hacker, I think. I don't have the mana to put a counter on something if I play Fang of Shigeki. So would I rather put a counter out or a Fang of Shigeki out? I think I'd rather put a Fang of Shigeki out for now. Keeps the 4-5 off of us for a moment. We can just block it, trade it down into our 1-1. Can't block it if it's got flying. Befriending the Moths here is going to be really good with a big, thick Vigilance creature like that. That's actually incredibly threatening. That threatens to kill us really quick. Although our top deck is exceptional. Bouncing their land to their hand. Essentially countering the second part of Befriending the Moths, their second opportunity to get +1/+1 to a creature. Although, there you go. The hexproof card in hand. Perfect out from our opponent, going to get in for another 5 damage here. Fall of Lord Conda to exile our 2/2. And Orochi Mergekeeper. They are out of cards now, but we are down to 8, and they have a 2/4 flyer next turn. So this is pretty phenomenally threatening, isn't it? Can attack with our Kirin. Just as a chump attack to put a counter on our Moon Circuit Hacker. To make it a 4-3, and then Bearer of Memory makes it a 5-4, and then we can get their 4-5 out of the way. And we can start attacking with pretty much everything else if we get that out of the way. We can also just wait a turn, because we don't even take the damage next turn from the flyer, they just get it out. So I think we wait a turn. So that the Moon Circuit Hacker can attack without needing the Kirin Touched Orochi alongside it. So I don't have to kind of chump attack there. Okay. So now we can attack with just the Moon Circuit Hacker. If it hits, we draw a card, discard a card here. See if we can draw our exceptional Steel spell. Jukai defends the temple, still pretty good. So I still like casting that rather than getting a counter here, I think. Right, taking 2 damage a turn in the sky, certainly under some pressure here. Counter on the Hacker, it's already big enough to beat the 4-5. Now we can also even respond with a counter to make it even bigger. Could start putting counters on Orochi so it gets to the point where it can attack once the 4-5's gone. I think that's what I like here. Grafted Growth, do I want to do that pre-combat? Can I do that pre-combat and still hold up the mana that I need? I can because of the 1-1. So we can do that pre-combat, make the Hacker even bigger. Although then I can't draw discard. I think I'd rather have the option to draw discard because we still have the quadruple blue bomb in our deck. Just block with the 1-3 here. We can still draw discard if we give +1/+1 trample this turn instead of casting Grafted Growth. I think that's worth it. Because, yeah, draw discard, try to pull out our big bomb. Just a land, we'll discard the land then. Down to 7 now. Favor of Jukai makes the flyer a 5-7. Down to 2 off of this attack, but we get a chump blocking flyer this turn. So if we can find a way to lethal them in 2 attacks. We can Generous Visitor plus Grafted Growth for 2 counters onto something. I don't think we can lethal them in 2 attacks. So I think we're still just trying to draw discard with Moon Circuit Hacker here. So we save up the 6 to use Bearer of Memory's ability. We're just looking for Tamiyo's completion. We're looking for our Invoke. For a lot of outs here. Master's Rebuke. If we haven't cast that yet. Oh, we have. Well, Shigeki would bring it back if we get Shigeki. So there are a lot of outs to look for here. I think we attack with just the Hacker still. I guess they can make a solid double block now. But no blocks whatsoever. Okay. Deal our damage, draw, discard, I think is the choice here. The Modern Age lets us draw, discard more, potentially get us there. So discard the Grafted Growth to cast the Modern Age. And then cast Generous Visitor. I know the sequencing is weird, but in case we draw something like Kairi, we discard Generous Visitor. And beautiful, there's Kairi. Drop that down. And now we have a blocker big enough to block Imperial Moth. Even if that isn't the steal spell. Do they have the 3 mana to pay for ward? They do. We still have the chump block here, so we've still got our opportunities. Oh, draw, discard, it's Ninja's Kunai. Ninja's Kunai can help find lethal out of nowhere. Ninja's Kunai is the card dealing damage, so we can't put this on a Death Toucher to kill the Moth. They have 3 blockers total. What is the most they can block? If we attack all, how do they block? Block there. Block there. Block there. Take 1, 2, 3. I don't think we can win now. I think we lose. There's no possible way they let Moon Circuit Hacker in. To give us another draw, discard, give us another shot here. Our only hope is they really flub up the math here, and then we can like Ninja's Kunai them out of nowhere. But we'd have to hold a 1/1 back to do that, which would be incredibly suspicious. Because there's no way, right? There's no way they block well. Like, if they block perfectly, or there's no way they block wrong. Because it's pretty simple, just block the Hacker with the 5 power thing. Sure, we can make it 7 power trample. We trample over for 2, so we do 1, 2 damage there, do no damage there, do no damage there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ninja's Kunai does nothing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're out. I'll hold the Death Toucher back so it doesn't look as suspicious, I guess. Best way to get more damage in here. Probably not a counter on Hacker, because they're just going to block that. Just put it on our smallest thing, one of the 1/1s. Please just like double block Moon Circuit Hacker or something weird here. Okay, so if they block like this, we've got no shot. We can spend all of our mana to draw a card off Moon Circuit Hacker. And they take 3. We can do 3 more with Ninja's Kunai, but we can't kill Imperial Moth and we have no blockers for it. Do we have any flyers or reach left in the deck? We have Bamboo Grove Archer. That's it. We could hit Tamiyo's Completion or Invoke the Winds or Bamboo Grove Archer, but we can't hit any of those unless we dump all our mana into giving Hacker a counter. I should have attacked with everything but the Human Monk. That way, if I hit Bamboo Grove Archer, I'd have an out, I guess. If I trample on Bearer of Memory, I hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not lethal because I don't have the mana to play Kunai and equip. And sack. Costs 3 mana to use Kunai. for 3 damage. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter here, but we can see if we would have gotten the Bamboo Grove Archer. If we would have gotten Bamboo Grove Archer, we should have not attacked with the 1/1. And that would have maybe bought us a turn. Tammy's completion's just a turn too late. Brutal game here. Brutal stuff. Felt like the kind of game where we were drawing and discarding like multiple extra cards to find like the correct outs and answers to survive the flyer, like having Kyrie and stuff like that, and then our opponent was just natural draw off the top the correct answer for the Kyrie. Rough. 5-1 it will be. Alright, here we are in round 7, 5-1 so far, after a really tough loss last game. Opponent starts with turn 1 Okipa Reckoner Raid, one of the best turn 1 plays in the format, but here we are with turn 1 Generous Visitor, another one of the best turn 1 plays in the format. Opponent is on green-black, a Commune with Spirits on turn 2 to pull out an enchantment or a land. From the top 4 cards of their library, they pick a land here. You can play Shigeki here to attack for 2 with our Generous Visitor, and then play Bearer of Memory turn 3. I think we curve out pretty well here, even without ramping up with Careful Cultivation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just curve out well and start getting a lot of damage and putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. We could channel the Cultivation to make a Human Monk to make sure we can cast Bosiju Reaches Skyward turn 3. But I like getting a lot of power on the board real quickly here. Circuit Mender from our opponent's going to be a pretty excellent blocker, especially because they can double block alongside their Nezumi Road Captain if we make something a 3/3 here when we cast our Bearer. Oh. Yeah, so we don't really have a good attack here, but I think we're still casting Bearer of Memory and then Bosiju next turn. Would like to make Generous Visitor a 3/3 so it doesn't die to the -2/2 spell from our opponent. But we definitely don't have a good attack with Road Captain and Circuit Mender out on their board. Hidetsugu Devouring Chaos. We're going to try quite hard to Master's Rebuke that, but we do not have the mana to do so. Or we don't have the power to do so, I should say. We need another +1/+1 counter on a creature in order to do that, so we have to cast another enchantment. I guess we could Careful Cultivation on one of our cards and then tap it for double green to shoot Hidetsugu. Is that even worth it? They don't have the red mana, so they just can sack creatures to scry 2. I think we can wait. I think we're safe for now. We've got a big enough blocker to trade into it as well here. Yeah, the red ability on this card is incredibly threatening. The black ability is pretty good, though. Well, Network Terminal it is. Red ability time. Might blow up our best creature, and I guess that would be it. Because if they hit something big enough in mana value to kill one of our cards, they wouldn't be able to cast it, because they won't have any mana left over. You can use that at instant speed, too. That's pretty rough. That is pretty rough. Do I even try to Historian's Wisdom here? What are the odds? If I cast a Historian's Wisdom here, what are the odds they immediately have a 3-drop on top? Probably not that bad. They're probably like less than 50-50. They're probably like 35-40% chance they do. It's a weighted coin flip slightly in our favor, I would say. Because they're going to have 1 and 2 mana cards in the deck, and they're obviously going to have a lot of lands in there still. Might be a little sketchy to just slam down Historian's Wisdom, but I'm interested in it. Let's just go ham. Hit something good on top. Prove it. Well. Time for vengeance. That was a rough one. Bad coin flip for us. But I definitely wanted to do that before I went for a Master's Rebuke, because if I just went for a Master's Rebuke and then they responded by trying to do that and killed what I targeted with Master's Rebuke, we lose the game on the spot. So that's why, while we had a chance of getting blown out there, it gets them, it forces them to kind of use the ability right then and just try to stop that, which makes it so they don't have the ability to try to stop Master's Rebuke. So it was rough, but I'm pretty sure it's just the best we had there. Get their mana soaked up into using that ability to stop our aura instead of using it to stop our removal spell. Generous Visitor from our opponent. Only 2 cards left in their hand. Hopefully no enchantments chilling in there. We have a Network Terminal to start drawing cards off of their Circuit Mender here. Draw a card, discard a card. That'll help them dig. Grafted Growth, so they do have an enchantment there. It's trying to get 2 counters where they want them. Both onto the Circuit Mender, okay. We got a big old creature to use with Network Terminal. Big old annoying blocker too. We've got a big old annoying attacker. It'll be a 6/6 now. We can put Shigeki back into our hand to recast it, get another counter on a card. We also do have Careful Cultivation. We're not attacking him with the 6/6 now anyway. Sure, let's just use Shigeki right now. See what we mill here. Tamiyo's Completion, Ninja's Kunai, and Heir of the Ancients. Nothing great. So I think I'm just recasting Shigeki because I don't even really want to bring these cards back that bad right now. And every other land we pick up with Shigeki makes the Branch of Bosiju even bigger. We're going to make a 1/1 here in their end step. Alright, we'll draw and discard. Our branch should be big enough to attack in next turn. We have an 8/8. They'll have 4, 5, 6, 7 power right now. 8, 9, 10 power. Because that adds 1 power with the +1/+1 counter, 1 power on the creature, and then 1 power from its ability in the end steps. That adds 3 power. They have 10 power on board now. That is going to make it harder to attack in. Although, I mean, when the best they can do is like block with everybody, it might still just be worth it. The reason I'm playing this as a mana dork instead of a +1/+3, as big as that would be on the branch, is now we just have so much mana into Shigeki. We're getting really close to turning Shigeki into like a draw 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, at 10 mana, we spend 2, and then we spend 8. And X equals 8 is a draw 4, actually. So Shigeki's just going to be nuts when we use it. So I am going to attack with the branch now, I think. How do they kill Branch of Boseiju? Block with a 5/6, 2/2, and a 2/2. We kill the 5/6 and one of their 2/2s, but then they're down to just these 2 cards. Yeah, I think it's worth the attack. Kill this, kill the Menace card. Or no, kill this and kill the one that keeps getting counters. We could Shigeki in response if we want to, like... Ooh, here's a... Now it's a 9/9, but even a 9/9 they can kill there. But I could Shigeki in response and pick up Master's Rebuke and cast it, but then I'm not picking up like 4 things from my grave. So I think that's probably not worth it either. Because I'd have to spend 2 mana to pick up Shigeki. I would then have, let's see, I have 8, I have 9 mana, so I'd have 7 left. With 7 mana left, I could then spend 4 of it to pick 2 cards up, and then 2 mana to pick Master's Rebuke up. So I'd pick 2 cards up instead of like 4 cards up. But yeah, I mean, picking 2 cards up, one of which is Master's Rebuke. Keeping the branch on the board. Yeah, keeping the branch on the board is pretty ridiculous. Let's actually do it. Let's surprise Shigeki here. We have 7 mana, so we can spend... I guess we only pick 1 card up. Yeah, I did. The math on Shigeki is so awkward. So I have to spend 4 to pick up Master's Rebuke, and then just Master's Rebuke here. Yeah, we're 1 mana off from picking up 2. Yeah, this wasn't worth it. I did my math wrong. But I'm going to put their boards down to a 1-1. Maybe it is. They just have a single 1-1 now. We have a 4-4, a 9-9, and a 1-1. Or a 4-4, a 10-10, and a 1-1 next turn. They do draw a lot of cards in the process. Tribute to Hirobi gives us some 1-1s temporarily, and then they will steal them. To go along with their big old flyer. But their flyer gets blocked really easily by our branch. Although I don't think I'm going to be holding my branch for blocks. We'll just take 3 a turn for a little bit. 2 cards in their hand. Taking 17 on board, that's exact lethal. They have to have something in hand here. Got some really powerful draws left in our 15 cards. We still have our Kairi and our Invoke. And our Green Dragon Saga. Oh, looks like that's just game. Just dead on board. Unfortunate draws from our opponent in the end there. That will put us to 6-1 now as we head into what could be the final battle. Alright, here we are on the play in what could be the final round. Round 8 here, 6-1. One more win takes us all the way to victory. We have an excellent hand for on the play here. Generous Visitor turn 1. We'll get to attack in with it for 2 damage because of Zeus's Many Journeys turn 2, which also means we're playing an additional land, so we have 3 mana out turn 2, meaning we have a 4th mana out turn 3, ready for Bosiju Reaches Skyward. Nuts hand on the play. We'll see if it pans out as well as it looks. If our opponent doesn't have a lot of cheap creatures or interaction in their opening hand, this could be a quick, pretty bonkers way to close out the game. So our opponent is on black. Is their turn 2 now. Black-blue it is, and a Mukotai Soul Ripper, a vehicle that's quite threatening once they start crewing it. But hopefully we can just put enough pressure on them, beat them down so quickly, that we can just kill them before we're that worried about that. Here's our Bosiju Reaches Skyward to grab a couple lands here and attack in with a 3-3 this turn. Next turn we have another 3-3, the Likeness of the Seeker. And of course, once the Bosiju flips, it's the massive Branch of Bosiju. There's a Gravelighter from our opponent to trade off into our Generous Visitor. Pretty fair. That will slow us down significantly. Keep them alive for now. So I could Historian's Wisdom on Likeness of the Seeker and draw a card here. Pretty fine with that, even if they use removal to kill her. We will have drawn a card off the Historian's Wisdom, so it's still kind of just a 1-for-1. Play a tapped land here or play our Bamboo Grove Archer. The Grove Archer doesn't affect our board state much because we don't need to be blocking here, so we'll hold it in hand in case they play a good flyer to block with. Maybe they'll play a mythic rare dragon we need to kill. We have been seeing a lot of those. Been casting a lot of those too, to be fair. Tamiyo's Completion, shut off the Likeness of the Seeker. Grafted Growth is the draw. Don't think that I want to just make our branch bigger here, so I'm just going to hold it in hand alongside our Bamboo Grove Archer because we don't need the extra mana, we don't need to blow up. We don't need to make the branch bigger. Although, the extra mana would be our next blue mana in case we top deck our quadruple blue card. So, yeah, just in case we top deck the quadruple blue, we'll go ahead and play Grafted Growth here. So we go blue, 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 blue. But I'm definitely not playing the Bamboo Grove Archer. We have 5 mana up now, 3 cards in hand. Another targeted removal spell would balance things out pretty quick here. Thousand-Faced Shadow it is, a 1/1 flyer to chump block with, but Bearer of Memory is a great draw. Can give trample. We only have 5 mana to activate the ability, we need 6 to use it. So no real reason to play it pre-combat here. But in the future we can put a counter on Branch of Boseiju, guarantee slamming through for trample. So this may be a You're Already Dead here. So they get the chump block off, plus get the kill on the branch. That would be our opponent's best option. I suppose maybe I should have, I probably should have channeled the Bamboo Grove Archer just in case they had You Are Already Dead. Although, them playing Kairi makes it pan out quite well that I did not cycle the Bamboo Grove Archer yet, because now I'll channel it to kill Kairi. And looks like they're going to scoop them up either way, because they are still stuck in a position where they have to chump block with Kairi. Because even if I didn't have Bamboo Grove Archer, we're attacking in with, I play land for turn, we're attacking with a 9/9. If they block, I can just give trample and still trample over for a boatload. Yeah, looks like I guess just no removal in their hand, or they weren't expecting any removal to come up soon. If they had removal to pop up, they could just blow up the branch. But if they don't have removal coming up, they do die pretty quickly. Bearer of Memory giving trample to branch. I guess, you know, worst case scenario, they have to chump block with Kairi. We buff the branch, right? We buff the branch. We still trample over for 3, but then they can put the branch and the Bearer of Memory back into our hand. It's still not ideal for them, but they had some chances. Maybe they could have top decked like an absolute god, but I understand if our opponent is over it as well, because that was quite a ridiculous start from us, the speed we got to come out with there. And I'm glad that I did a little second thinking on it, because if they didn't just scoop there, and I didn't think through everything that I just thought through now that they have, and I just tried to channel the Bamboo Archer to kill Kairi, and then we would have just gotten no damage in. That would just be strictly worse than attacking with Branch. Because I would cycle to kill Kairi, and then Kairi would just bounce all our stuff and be like, oh, I guess I get 0 damage in. Oops. So, yeah, actually, not a good opportunity to channel the Bamboo Grove Archer, an opportunity to just attack in and threaten 1,000,000 damage. So, either way, ridiculous board state is going to find us the win, even against another Spirit Dragon. So that will be 7-1. Ending today's sealed event, getting some 50 feet of rope from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. We'll take one last look at the deck. Definitely happy I went with blue-green over blue-black. I think blue-black would have been quite solid as well. Just as much removal. We would have had 2 black removal spells instead of the removal spell plus counterspell, but the counterspell actually worked out really well just because we got to counter multiple Spirit Dragons with it in this sealed, so that was great. Ninja's Kunai was a bit rough. We had a lot of issues with how much mana the Kunai was going to cost us, how much time it was going to take. So that's actually probably the worst I've seen Ninja's Kunai having been in some of these games, and that's probably just because our deck is full of other removal anyway. Invoke the Winds, Tamiyo's Completion, Master's Rebuke, Disruption Protocol, so I don't know if we should have been running Ninja's Kunai, but basically everything else in the deck saw play. It did its thing. Shigeki was a little bit awkward, but that's just because I'm horrible at math. So all the Shigeki plays, I was just like getting confused with the double X and double green, especially because if you want to bounce Shigeki to your hand and then channel it, you have to worry about spending 2 to return Shigeki, then spending 2 green to start using the channel plus double X to return the X cards, and then still having the mana left behind to cast whatever you picked up. So I did get pretty confused that turn where I wanted to pick up the Master's Rebuke and something else. It did still play out really well, because it did still just like empty their whole board and keep our like 9/9 around. So maybe it was the correct play, but I kind of stumbled into it thinking that it was a much different line than what I was actually going for. So that was pretty awkward, but that's just like user error there. Shigeki actually did end up being better than I thought Shigeki would be. Shigeki was a card that when I first saw it in the format, I'm like, this is just unplayable. This is just so slow. But it did a thing or two here. It was not that bad. So yeah, overall pretty sweet run. Only 1 loss, 7-1. So super happy with that sealed deck overall. So that is going to end today's video. As always, if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more, just stick around on the channel. You can always like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send some more videos to your notification feeds or your just recommended page. Other than that, I do stream on occasion on the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, trying to hit Mythic and Limited this month with a bunch of Premier drafts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.